All right, all right, all right. We have a special edition today. Um, this is joeingramlaw.com. My phone number is 205 335 2640. My podcast is called Real Law Alabama, and we take cases in Alabama from Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, and even the Mobile area. Generally, we talk about criminal law and family law topics in the state. We have had a number of featured guests over the summer, and we have been continuing that because our subscribers are just giving us phenomenal feedback. And some of the people that I get to follow on LinkedIn and meet are just so over the top that um, you like to hear from. And so the gentleman tonight, I'm not going to give too much away. We are so fortunate to have his presence and his time. And so I would like to introduce Mr. Marco Brown of the Brown family law firm out in Utah, Alabama, Utah of the United States. Marco, are you there?
I am. Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Marco, it's so good to see you, man.
It's good to see you too.
All right, thank you. Marco, please introduce yourself to Alabama audience.
All right. So I'm from Alaska, so I do not have the same awesome accent that you do, but I will try here. So
Don't do that, Marco. Come on.
no, I love the South, man. My wife's from Texas and I love it, dude. It's great. Your food down there in Alabama, Louisiana, like, man, I'm glad I don't live down there because I'd be big as a whale, dude. It's so good. So good. So, yeah, I'm Marco Brown. I own a family law firm in Salt Lake City. Started that in 2010 and from nothing, had no clients, no money. In fact, less than no money. And nothing. Just had to make it work and worked hard over the last 14 years. Now we're the biggest law firm the biggest family law firm in the state of Utah by far, I might add. And then we just opened our first non-Utah office in Phoenix, Arizona. And yesterday we got our first case down there. So we are official in Arizona. And we'll expand past that, but it's been quite the ride, man. I've really, really enjoyed it. I enjoy family law a lot. I love being a lawyer. I love interacting with people like you, Joe, and my colleagues on LinkedIn. And it's a great profession filled with great people, and we get to serve people and get paid handsomely to do it. It's fantastic.
That is all true. Congratulations on the second state office. I'm glad it's up and going now.
It is. It's stressful though, man. You know, you have all that capital outlay and you got no clients and you just have to make it work. And I mean, you know, we'll do it, but it took me a long time to decide to do it because I just let fear rule me for a while. And then I decided, no, I'm going to do it anyway, and we'll make mistakes, and that'll be okay, and we'll figure it out, and then we'll serve a lot of people and a lot more people, and then, you know, we'll fix the mistakes and do it a third time and a fourth time and a fifth time.
Okay. Look, I know you do a lot of podcasts. We and I have had some conversations. My audience doesn't know, so I'm going to back up and ask you some elementary questions. Forgive me. You know I know the answers. You went to law school in Nebraska, right?
I did. University of Nebraska. Yep.
Okay. And then then you make your way to Utah and you work at a big law firm.
Yeah, I did before. So it was in New Mexico, actually. So graduated from BYU. So we kind of made our way back to Utah, but via New Mexico. And that was in 2008, 2009, right during the Great Recession. Worked for an insurance defense firm. Worst job I ever had in my entire life. I still despise that job, that job so much. But it was actually great because it taught me kind of who I didn't want to be as a lawyer, and then what I didn't want to do. And that's been super helpful over time.
Well, that's good. Okay, so 2010, you go out on your own, and like all new lawyers struggling, it was tough at first, right?
Exactly. It was incredibly difficult. Yeah, for me. Yeah.
And you were getting cases, and you were kind of like me. You were burning the candle at both ends at one point.
Yeah, I had so about 2 years in, I for the first 2 years I had just done everything. Like everything that came in the door I did because I felt I needed money. Now I realized that that was not the way to do it, but I felt I had to take everything, so I just did everything and I was a mess. And then I decided after a couple of years that I was just going to do family law. And then I kind of found my groove and found my niche there. And at one point I had 112 active custody and divorce cases at the same time.
That's a pretty heavy caseload.
It was bad. It was way too many. Yeah. I limit to give you an example. I limit my attorneys to 30.
Really?
Yep.
No kidding. No kidding. Okay. Um. All right. So from 2010 to 24 is 14 years, and my gosh, here you are. How many lawyers you got in Utah now?
So two of them just passed the bar. So in a couple weeks they'll be attorneys. I think we have 18, something like that.
18 lawyers.
I think so. 17, 18, yeah.
And how many did you put in your new office to start out?
The one in Arizona?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, just one. So we hired an attorney in Arizona. So he's the only one.
Okay. So you're just going to start with one there. Okay. Yeah. All right. What I know the answer to this, but the viewers don't know. Tell the little story, or tell the story of how you got into doing divorce work.
So, hey, sweetheart. Sorry, my daughter. No, for everybody who wants to see, this is my daughter Tristan. But
Hello.
I gotta do an interview. Okay, so I'll read it later to you. Okay. Yeah. So I'm Mormon and Tristan.
Hi.
I'm Mormon. I'm Mormon, and I served my religious mission when I was 19 over in Italy. You are Norman? Okay. 1 second. Sorry. Okay, come on. No, I know. You said you are. You can't. You can't. Come on. Okay. If you're gonna stay here, just stay here. You can't. Stay over there. Oh, stay over here. Sorry, Joe.
Oh, you're good.
So I went to Italy for a couple of years, and I served with another American girl who was over there doing the same thing I was. And she came to me after I started my law firm and said I need a divorce because my husband cheated on me. So I said, "Great, I need money." And I stayed up and I didn't know anything about divorce at all. But I stayed up until like 3 o'clock in the morning the night before we met and read everything I possibly could about Utah divorce. Next morning, met with her at 9 a.m. She gave me a check. I said, "Let's do this thing." And by the grace of God, it worked. It, honestly, like it was the hand of providence, man, because everything went spectacularly well. Helped her out, helped her kids out. It was great. And then from then on, I thought, I really like this. It made me feel good. I did good for her kids. Let's do this again. And so I just did it again and again and again.
That is a cool story.
Yeah. Yeah. We're good. I apologize for the
No, it's real life, Marco.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't make it up, right?
I know.
Um.
So that's that story.
So, how did you did you always know you wanted to be a lawyer, or when did you decide that you wanted to practice law?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think this has been helpful. This story has actually been helpful for a lot of people to kind of younger people to kind of think through this. So I knew I was going to be a doctor, lawyer, scientist, dentist, something like that from a very early age because my grandmother was a professional. She was a professor actually, so she was a doctorate in education and psychology, was a professor, was a great researcher, did research for the federal government that some of which never got published because the feds didn't like what it said, so they made her sign an NDA.
Mm.
And it was she was very very good at what she did though. So I was kind of knew that that's what the family did was, high level stuff like that required schooling. And I thought, okay, let's figure out what that is. And I knew that at about 8 years old. So then from then on, I'm like, okay, what is that going to entail? And first I thought I was going to be a physicist. And then I decided to go into clinical psychology. But when push came to shove and it came time to go to grad school, I looked at myself and I said, man, I'm going to be a very bad psychologist to everybody, but about 2% of the population, just because of my personality. Because I'm combative. Like I'm a combative guy. I'm a disagreeable guy. And being a litigator was the thing. And I figured out that my head worked like a lawyer's head worked. And I thought through problems like a lawyer thinks through problems. And I thought, okay, I probably should be a lawyer because it's what my brain is best at. So that's what I did.
I, I would not ever use the word combative with you. I mean, we've had a couple of conversations. We talk by text, email. That that's never come across to me. Or maybe it's just but because of our relationship, I don't see you that way. You know.
Yeah. And that, so I think this is a big thing for lawyers that want to have good, sustainable lives is that they can be one way as a lawyer in the courtroom, and then they can be another way outside of the courtroom. And sometimes lawyers just don't get that. They are kind of like uniformly the same throughout their entire life, right? I am not that. So when I'm in a courtroom and I have a job to do, I am ruthless. Like I am there to do a job, which means that I'm there to break somebody's face, right? Like that's what I'm going to do, man. And I have no qualms about that sort of thing. If it's necessary for my client, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, I have to temper that because in my own life, if I act like that, I don't have a family. I don't have like it's not going to be good. And so I don't act like that in my personal life. And I came to realize very early on as an attorney that while I derive this is the thing about my personality. I derive a tremendous amount of joy from, again, tearing somebody apart in court. I think it's the most fun thing in the entire world. I would rather do that than anything else. But I had to realize very early on that that was not good for my clients for the most part. And it was definitely not good for their kids. So I can only let that out in very, very limited circumstances. Otherwise, I'm going to ruin people's lives. And that's not, that's just not why I'm there. Like it brings me a lot of joy because I'm kind of sadistic like that, I guess. Uh, but I just can't. I can't because I also try to be principled and not ruin people's lives. So it's a dance that you do as an attorney. But there are a lot of attorneys, and you know them, and I know them. That's just who they are. They're like they love that stuff and their uniform across their entire life. And I just think, wow, that must be terrible for you. That's got to be really difficult in your personal life when you can't turn that off.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Okay. Well, that was an interesting comment because I don't see you that way, but I can see you that way in a courtroom. I really can. All right. Let me ask you this.
It's a beautiful thing to behold, my friend. It's a beautiful thing.
Um. Let me ask you this. Now that you're you don't go to court anymore. If I'm pretty correct, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you probably hadn't been in a courtroom in a couple of years, right?
Yeah, it's been the last trial I did was about a year into COVID, I think. So probably 2021.
Okay. So, what is a typical day like for you now that you're kind of the boss? You're running a big show. What's that like?
It's very, very different. So the highest leverage activity that I can engage in now is not billing hours, not doing any of that kind of stuff. It's marketing and leadership. So it's getting the team on the same page and getting them all to do the right thing, which is to just serve the clients exceptionally well, then to bill for their work and so on and so forth. And then on the marketing side is to acquire clients because that's the game. So it's really, hey, let's sit around. I sit around and I think, how can we improve the intake process? How can we improve the marketing process? Where should we spend money to get to acquire leads, which then we put them through our funnel, results in this number of clients and so forth. Like, what do the data say? It's that type of thing. And then the other aspect that takes up a lot of time is talent acquisition. So I'm trying to identify talent in attorneys and paralegals mostly and meet them, recruit them, plant seeds if it's going to be a year or two or however long before they actually make a move. So I'm just trying to think ahead strategically in that way. So that, like today, it was just meeting. It was literally meetings about all of those things. That's what I did all day long today.
Mm. Um, I I know a little bit about you, so this really isn't a fair interview in some ways. I mean, this is a conversation for us. People just get the benefit of it,
Yeah.
and it's really for me. You know that.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to jump around a little bit because I want to hit some really high topics with you. You're really exposed on LinkedIn. You got a lot of following. Talk a little bit about your newsletter. How many people subscribe to us? Brag a little bit about that.
Yeah. So newsletter was an idea I got from two people. One is John Fisher in New York, and he's a very, very high-end medical malpractice attorney. And then Craig Goldenfarb. And this is a physical newsletter, right? Not an email newsletter. But Craig Goldenfarb is the second one, and Craig is a very high-end PI attorney in West Palm Beach. And I got to know them, and they said that if they could, I asked them, what's the one thing in marketing that if you gave up everything else, you would still do this one thing? They both said their newsletter. So I thought, oh, okay. So I started writing a physical newsletter and sending it out to people. And what's the circulation now? I sent it to every attorney in Utah. So it's about 10,000 in Utah. And then there's a smattering, outside of Utah as well. So I'd have to look at the list, but it's between 10 and 11,000 right now.
And that's once a month, correct?
Yes.
How much are you involved in the writing, and how much do you just approve the content at this point?
No, I write every word. So when
Really?
it comes to stuff like that, yeah. When it comes to stuff like that, I write it. Now there are blog posts and so on and so forth for SEO, and I just approve that stuff anymore. But the newsletter is my baby because I have a particular way of speaking and I have a particular style of writing. And yeah, I am who I am. So this is my personality. I want that to come across on the page. And there's just nobody I've found that has been able to do that but me so far. And maybe that'll change in the future. You get somebody that's around you so much and kind of takes on your personality and your writing style enough. But that person, I would think it's very, very hard to find. And I'm sure that'll happen at some point, but it has not happened yet. So that's just all me and my personality right now.
All right. All right. I'm going to catch you off guard here. Best day, worst day as a lawyer.
Oh man. Gonna have to think about this for a second.
I told you, I'm not letting you off the hook
I
today.
know. I know. It's my best day as a lawyer. I'm gonna say best day as a lawyer. Hmm. Let's do a couple of them. I think they're pretty close. So
Okay.
probably what first best day regarding clients and client service was the actually the worst divorce case I ever had. And it was unspeakably bad, because of what the dad did to the kids. And it was one of those that I had the case for 3 or 4 years, I think. We did trial, we went up on appeal, we went back to trial. We got through the dad's criminal case, just all sorts of things. And my client had all sorts of problems, medical problems and so forth. And then the psychological problems from what the dad did to the kids. But it was finally getting done with that case, like tying it all off and finishing it up and realizing that as nasty as that was and as compromised as everybody was in the end from that case, that it could have been exceedingly worse if we hadn't served that family. So I think that's probably, the best day. And that doesn't sound like, as people are listening to this are like, that sounds like a terrible day. But it's kind of what it is in family law, right? Everybody's compromised and you're trying to do the best you can. But I do remember feeling very, very satisfied with that case, as difficult as it was. So that's one of them. And then the other one, on kind of a more goal oriented and personal side, was probably the day that I bought our villa in Italy, which had been a goal and a dream for a long, long time. And it would never have been possible if we didn't have this law firm and didn't make a good amount of money at the law firm. So that was incredibly satisfying to me when I was able to go over there and buy it and then sleep there the first night. That was fantastic. So maybe the best day, the worst day. Boy, I'm trying to think. I mean, I've had a lot of bad days as an attorney. Um, hmm. I don't know that there's a specific worst day, but there's a period of time in which I was deeply, deeply uh, in debt and had I mean, it just felt like I was in the middle of a tunnel and there was no light, right? So it's 2015. I was all messed up physically. I just let myself go to pot. I was messed up spiritually. I was messed up. And I was kind of a jerk to my wife because I was just so stressed all the time. My wife, and my son, and I was terrible at the business end of things, the whole bit. And I just remember that like a normal day back then was I would wake up, I would dread going to work. I would go to work and I liked the work. So I was like, I was a little bit better. And then I get home at about 7 or 8 o'clock at night and I hadn't eaten. So I'd eat like 3,000 calories of just absolute garbage. and then, and I never worked out. And then I would like, I think I would watch TV until 11 o'clock or midnight or something like that and fall asleep and then just do it all over again. It was horrid. And I just remember that feeling for an extended period of time. And that was probably the worst I've ever felt in my entire life. So it may not be a specific day, but that was the worst time period I ever had as a lawyer.
Yeah. You had a dark period doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. It was awful. Terrible.
Yeah. Um, for my viewers, they're going to go check you out on LinkedIn, check out your website, Marco Brown. He's phenomenal. Marco, what are some of the resources you rely on now for your measure to growth? What do you look for guidance?
Like who do I look to, or what like data do I look to?
Well, I mean, do you read books or do you
Okay.
look
That's
for coaches or
Mhm.
what do you use to help you grow now that you're in a different stratosphere than I'm in? So
Yeah. So I've read a million books at this point. That was actually the beginning of my journey in 2015, when I went from like I'm terrible at the business of law to I have to get better at the business of law. And I'm a reader, and that's what I did. I just started reading books, and I've read so many hundreds of business books and everything else at this point. So I read less of them now because I've read so many, and I like want to read Jack Reacher books at this point. So it's kind of how I chill out. So that, and like 1,000-page books on the resurrection of Christ, right? Like I've got one of those big ones too. But when it comes to resources for the law firm, Grant Cardone is kind of my go-to when I need inspiration, when I need coaching. I will turn on a Grant video and I will watch. I don't know how many of those, how many hundreds or thousands of those I've watched. I've read every book of his multiple times. One of his books I've read 24 times. So that's the well I tend to go to. I also have picked up Alex Formosi and his books. His videos, I think, are very, very well done, and he's very sharp, and it's very applicable to all businesses kind of up and down the strata, right? So I think he's very, very good. So those two guys are my primary go to when I want some inspiration or kind of coaching. Now I have a coach. I have an individual coach as well. He's more of a like strategic mindset sort of coach that I work with on a weekly basis. Then I'm also part of a group called Strategic Coach, and that's, a little bit different than the weekly coaching I get. That there are tools and for mindset growth, and then kind of thinking about your thinking. So I layer stuff on because at this point that's what I need in order to get to the next level.
I know this story. I think the audience will like it. Tell it real quick about you taking the Grant Cardone course. You went to Florida.
Mhm.
I think you spent $10,000. Is that right? T-
Yeah, so went there with my office manager, and we spent $5,000 each. Yep.
right. Tell about that. That you. I don't think you had the money when you did it. Actually,
Did I have the money? I mean, I kind of sort of did, but it was a stretch. It was really a stretch. So this was at the very beginning of COVID, and we went. It was a sales execution workshop, is what it was called back then, from Grant Cardone. We went down there and really worked on our sales pitch, and specifically our scripts. So scripts for the phone, scripts for the intake, our intake consults, and it was revelatory, man. Like and we worked on overcoming objections and whatnot. But that $10,000 spend has made us millions and millions of dollars, like absolutely millions of dollars. It was literally the best money I have ever spent by ROI, the best money I've ever spent as an attorney.
and you preach that today to your young lawyers about taking sales classes to be lawyers, right?
Absolutely. I think one of the great, now I'm going to knock law schools for a second. One of the great disservices law schools do to their students is they teach them to think like a lawyer, except in the place where it actually matters, which is sales and closing. Because if you can't sell and you can't close a potential client to become a client, then you got no clients to serve. So there's all this thinking about lawyering doesn't matter if you can't actually go get clients and sell them and close them to become your clients. It's just the dumbest thing and the biggest travesty I've ever seen in education, I swear. And now it's not unique to law schools. It's very common among all schools that they don't teach this stuff. They don't even teach an MBA to school, which is just inane. But it is one of the things that I disdain the most about law school. And I actually really liked law school, but this is just unforgivable to me that they omit this.
Yeah. Let me ask you this really quick. What's your long-term vision, Marco, for you in this?
Yeah, so my long-term vision is 10 years from now, we'll be in approximately 15 states at $75 million a year in revenue, and we'll be the largest by revenue and by number of people served, we'll be the largest divorce law firm in the United States.
I hope I get to know you then. I hope our relationship continues. I really do.
It'll be interesting for me to get to know that guy because I am not that guy right now. So I think a lot about how to become that guy.
That's great. That's great. All right, so let's. I don't want to keep you too long. You've had a long day. You're a busy man. Thank you, Marco, for doing this for me. So I want to jump to some topics that I think people would love to hear. Go check out Marco Brown on LinkedIn. He's very charismatic. He gives a lot of good information for really young lawyers. You talked about a post a couple weeks ago, Marco. I follow you every day. That I think you have a 90-day rule for new lawyers. Is that right? It's called a test. It's like a probationary test period.
Oh, yeah. 30, 60, 90. Yeah. That's our cadence for reviews of new lawyers. Yeah.
But what's the term that you called it?
Yeah. The first. Oh, yeah. Okay. I gotcha. So on the 30, 60, 90, the first thing that we assess is what I call the a-hole index.
Yep.
And it's best to be 0. It's best to be not an a-hole, right?
Yeah.
That's a fun one. So I don't know where I got that. I don't know if I got that from somebody else. I don't think I did. I think I just don't like jerks, right? So I didn't want them. And so it's 0 to 10. And if you're like above a 1, you're in the danger zone, right?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, look, again, I don't have a problem with people who go very, very hard in litigation, right? Like I can be a jerk in litigation sometimes, but it has to be very, very tempered. But really what I'm getting at with the a-hole index is like, how do you treat your colleagues and how do you treat the team? Right. And it is inexcusable to me that you treat your team, you're a jerk to your team members, and then you're a jerk to your colleagues. Right. Again, we can go hard at each other. We do go hard at each other. That's absolutely necessary. Got to be the Teddy Roosevelt. Got to carry a big stick and beat people over the head sometimes, but not very often. But like, if you're just generally a jerk, then, I'm just not going to deal with you. I'm not going to have you around.
Yeah. Let's change course here, get to the fun part. All right, so you brought it up. You have a place in Italy, and you went there back in July, right?
Yep.
You did? Yeah, you did for like 3 weeks, I think.
Yep, absolutely.
So brag a little bit. Talk about Italy. Go ahead. It's okay.
Yeah. I absolutely fell in love again. I'm Mormon, and I went there when I was 19 to serve a religious mission. So I was there from 19 to 21. I fell in love with everything about it. I love the food. I love the people. I love the scenery. It's the cradle of Western civilization. I love the art, everything about it. It just took with me. And then I get back to the United States, and I realized that I have a duality in my personality, which is I am American. I I'm wearing a capitalist pig t-shirt, right? Like, I'm an American, man. We do business in the United States. We have the First Amendment. We love freedom, the whole bit. And I'm that guy. But so I make American money so I can go spend it in Italy, essentially. Because they do things over there that we just don't do. They have recipes that are 400 years old. They've been making the exact same way because it tastes great, and it's tasted great for the last 400 years. And nobody in America would think to do that sort of thing. Like, that's just not how we think about food, for instance. So, yeah, I get to do both of these things, and it's fantastic. And again, what I do as an attorney facilitates that part of my life. Like, I don't work to work, man. I don't work to pay electric bills. I work to succeed. I work to amass large amounts of wealth for myself and my family and have a whole lot of fun. And then help my team members to do the same thing so they can enjoy the fruits of their labors, right? So they can enjoy their life, so they can secure their families, so they can have freedom. Like, this is why I do what I do and why we do it the way we do it. And it's an absolute privilege to be able to help people in this way and become wealthy doing it.
And just for kicks, talk about the suits and the fabrics you picked out. Come on.
No, it's great. So along with the Villa, which I realized I didn't talk about the Villa that much. The Villa sits on 20 acres. It's outside Bologna, Italy, which is where the best food is. So it's about 35 minutes south of the city. It sits on 20 acres on the kind of the top of a hill. It was an old farm, and it's just absolutely utterly gorgeous. And I feel privileged every day that I get to go there. But along with that, along with the food and everything, we have suits, because Italy is one of the greatest suit making cultures in the entire world. There's the English, the French, and the Italians. And I dig the Italians, obviously. So I get to go over and have handmade suits now. So I go to Naples all the time, because Naples is where you have the greatest suit makers in the world. And I get suits made. I'm getting 5 made right now. So a couple tweeds, a green tweed and a dark brown tweed, then a flannel, a gray pinstripe flannel. Oh, it's such a beaut. It is absolutely phenomenally gorgeous, and it feels so fantastic. Flannel is just a great, great material. Then I have a James Bond tuxedo being made. So it's black pants, white dinner jacket, very much in the Sean Connery style. And then I have a Merlot suit being made as well. So I love wine color fabrics. So I have a Bordeaux, and now we're doing a Merlot. The Merlot is a little bit more purple than the Bordeaux is. The Bordeaux is a little bit more red, so it's a little darker color, but high fat. And I do the 3-piece suits all the time. So I have the gilet is what it's called, the vest. So I have the gilet with it and everything else. And I literally can't wait to put those suits on. They're just gorgeous. They're gorgeous, man. They're so gorgeous. And then the shoes, like, I get shoes made over there too, which I have a couple of them in the works right now. I should be able to go pick up very, very soon. And I went to Florida last year, shot an alligator, big old gator, man. And the skin is being tanned right now, and I'm going to take it to my shoe guy, Franco, in Italy, and he's going to make me some shoes out of alligator skin that I was able to shoot. I mean, this is fun, right? This is the thing. I talked with so many attorneys, and they look at being an attorney as something that they kind of think is cool, but it's also like a chore. It's a real bore and a chore for them. And I just think I don't buy that. Like, I love what we do. It just provides so many opportunities, and it's so fun to be able to serve people in this way and to make this sort of money and then use it to en to enjoy yourself, right? And this is how I enjoy myself. I love this sort of thing. So, those are the suits, and there will be many, many more as time goes on.
Um, talk about the I don't know if you consider it bungee jumping or over the canyon a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's called a gorge swing. So,
Okay.
down in Moab or near Moab, there's a place called Canyonlands, and Canyonlands is kinda sort of like a little much smaller version of the Grand Canyon. So, you have all these gorges, right? So, it's kind of a horseshoe shaped, and it drops off 400, 500 feet or something along those lines. But if you've never been to Moab, never been to that area, it is one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth, and I love going down there. I saw actually one of my friends, Seth Price. He's an attorney in Maryland and Virginia, big PI attorney, like great guy. So he sent me this TikTok, I think, about a gorge swing, and I thought, wow, that looks amazing. And I am scared of heights, man. I do not like heights, and so the way I deal with fear and not liking things is I go do the thing, right? So I signed up for a gorge swing and went down there one morning, and it is one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire life. You jump, you have a rope, and you jump, and you're you free fall for about 2 seconds. Is about you cover about 200 feet, and it's 400 feet. So you are just barreling toward rocks underneath. And I've skydived before, but this is a very, very different sort of adrenaline high that you get because it's so immediate, right? You know that if something goes wrong, you are on the rocks in a second and you're gone. And I remember that I jumped, and lots of things can go through your head in 2 seconds, man. And everything that went through my head in 2 seconds was, what have you done? I can't believe you. This is the dumbest thing you've you've ever attempted. Like, it was that very, very quickly for 2 seconds. And then the slack came out of the rope and I started to swing. And I remember at that moment when the slack came out and I knew that I was gonna be fine, I thought to myself, that was the coolest thing I've ever done, and I want to do it again right now. I mean, it was absolutely immediate change, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I can't wait to do it again.
Oh, that's great. All right, we're 42 minutes in. I got just a couple quick questions. You're a
Yep.
busy man. All right. I had a thought when you told me you did the crazy jump. What kind of responsibility or stress do you feel knowing that I hate this term? You're the rainmaker for a lot of employees.
Mhm.
Do you feel that kind of pressure that you have a kind of a duty now to support all those people, or is that a crazy question that I just came off with?
No, no, it's a great question. So, look, as you progress in your development as a business owner, right? So you go from attorney, if you want to do this, you go from attorney to law firm owner, and you have people under you. You have different kind of problems. So, you have problems down here. I had problems when I had 112 open case files, right? And now I have zero, but I have different types of problems. And the types of problems I have right now are centered on how am I going to support the essentially 30 families that I have, right? And I take that very, very seriously. I have a duty to those people. I believe it's a religious duty to help them and their families to help them be successful. So yeah, I think about it every day. It eats at me every day. Like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to maintain this? How are we going to grow this so we can provide more opportunities to growth opportunities to our team, more money for the team, more money for their families, so on and so forth. Yeah, I think about it every day.
Okay. And then we decided to do this really fast because You're fixing to take a trip to Africa. Talk about that.
On Sunday, I leave, never been to Africa, so I leave for Namibia, and I am going to go hunt and eat things like zebra and kudu and, wildebeest and so on and so forth. And then I'll go fish for some sharks because apparently you do that in Namibia. and then there'll be a little bit of sightseeing. I actually chose Namibia because I had something on my what I call my 300 list, and it was in Namibia, and I'm like, okay, I wanted to go someplace I've never been, not even close to any place I've ever been. So I thought, let's go here. And then I started looking at the hunting aspect of things because, again, I'm from Alaska and I hunt. So I found a very nice guy down there, and he, hooked me up with this, and I'm gonna go eat some things I've never eaten before.
That's so cool. I had Marco, really fast. Had a lawyer walk in my office one day back in about 2007 when I used to share space with about 10 guys. He was really wealthy. He didn't really practice law. He was a third generation lawyer. And he said, Joe, I'm going to Kilimanjaro next week to climb the mountain. You want to go with me? And I said, Murray, look at my damn office, man. I said, what the hell? I said, no, I can't just up and go to Kilimanjaro. But that is my goal on my list, is to go climb Kilimanjaro one day. But he just thought I could just pick up and go. I said, no, I can't do that. I got stuff to do next week. But anyway, I digress. Okay. So 2 quick questions, then I get to brag on you. All right. What's the most famous person that is deceased that you would either want to have dinner with or interview?
Teddy Roosevelt.
That was too quick.
Yeah. The number 2 is probably like that one I've had for a long time. The number 2 is probably a more difficult answer, actually. Who would the number 2 be? The number 2 would either be Ronald Reagan or Joseph Smith, because, Joseph Smith is kind of the iconic religious leader for Mormons. But either one of those 2 guys. Yeah. But the number 1 would be Teddy Roosevelt.
Okay. Well, now I get to tell the audience just a little bit about you. You are so kind and generous with your time, your talent, and you're a busy, very busy man. You have been a mentor to me and a confidant to me over a few months. And thank you. I really mean that.
Yeah.
You know what you've done. You know what you've done for me. You do. You really do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate your time tonight.
Not a problem. And we're going to see each other in Vegas in November.
We are going to see each other in Vegas. Yes. If I get to have dinner with you. So,
oh yeah, of course.
Okay. So Marco, 48 minutes in, you got 2 minutes. It's all yours, man. What do you want to tell Alabama?
Attorneys in Alabama, or just Alabama in general?
Either way. Hell, it's you.
Yeah. If I'm talking to attorneys, and especially young attorneys in Alabama, I think there are a couple really important things that I learned from my experiences very early on that have helped me, and hopefully they help other people. One is, your number 1 job as an attorney is to get paid. I don't care what your law professors told you, or what the bureaucrats at law schools told you. They know nothing about anything at all. Your job is to get paid, because you got bills to pay and babies to feed. So that's it. Like, our contract with our clients is incredibly simple. We do excellent work for them. And if you don't do excellent work, then you should go to lawyer prison, but just do excellent work, right? Do excellent work. And then they pay us 100% for what we do. And allowing them to not pay us 100% for what we do is allowing them to steal from us and from our team and from our families and our team's families. And that's absolutely unacceptable. Don't allow that to happen. Get paid 100%. And then the second thing is you have an amazing privilege to be a lawyer and to be around other lawyers. Your colleagues are among the greatest people that you will ever meet, and among the most talented lawyers that have ever existed in the history of the world, in the Anglo-Saxon world, right? Love them, like serve them, do well by them. Don't be a jerk to them. Like at the very least, don't be a jerk to them, but literally think every day, how can I make one of my colleagues' lives better? And if you dislike being an attorney and you flip your thinking and think, how can I make somebody else's life better? And just continually do that, you will love being an attorney. And if you start that right now, even if you're in law school or a very young attorney, you start that right now doing it, you will have an amazing career. You can't help but have an amazing career if that is what you do every day, helping your colleagues. And you'll be amazing to your clients, and you will be so successful because your colleagues will like you, the judges will like you and trust you. It'll be great. And I had to learn that the hard way because I wasn't always like that. And I had to make that switch. And my life after I made that switch is 100 times or 1,000 times better than it was before.
Very, very good words from a very wise man. Well, Marco, man, I guess I'll see you in November, okay?
We'll see you in November.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this tonight.
Okay. Thanks, brother. It was great to talk to you.
All right. This is Real Law Alabama, joeingramlaw.com. Phone number is 205-335-2640. Give us a call if we can help you. And Marco, thank you for your time tonight. As we always say, take care of yourself and each other and have a good night. Bye-bye.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.